Hey everyone, it's MK. Welcome back to MK Quilts. So a quick update about the SewTites, and I'm at the bottom of this quilt, so I want to show you how I handle getting them off when I'm down to the bottom. You can see that the SewTites are just peeking over here on the edge. Now on the bottom of the quilt, if you are the type of quilter who normally would just unpin your quilt and then your bottom edge would be loose, then you can absolutely do that. Just go ahead now, take your SewTites off and baste down your bottom edge. Now, I've always been a quilter that likes to keep my bottom edge kind of in place while I do my bottom part of my basting. I like to keep it stabilized along the bottom edge. Well, if I take the SewTites off, then it's going to be loose. So you're going to see that I've put my pins back on, but I'm just going to do a few pins along the bottom here so that when I take the SewTites off, I don't have a lot of waviness going on, okay? So basically what I do is I kind of go every other SewTite, so in between every other one, and I'm putting the pins kind of at an angle, and they're not really close to the edge of my quilt. So I'm not going to run the risk of sewing over them when I baste. All right, so let me get the rest of this done. And down here at the end where I had two of them kind of in a row, I'm just going to take that last one off and put one final pin here in the corner. There we go. And then we'll just go ahead and go along and take them off. All right, there we go. That releases my leader. And I can go ahead and just kind of pat that down a little bit. All right, I'm going to get my side grips on, and then I'm going to pull you in a little bit closer because I want to show you a little bit of a trick that I do for basting along my bottom edge. If you've not seen any of my YouTube videos or anything about my side grips, I'll go ahead and drop a link to that. We sell so many of the leader grip, side grip combos that I think I'm Regina's best customer. There we go. All right, let me bring you on in so we can talk about the basting. All right, I have you zoomed in real close just so that you can see I do have those pins at an angle, and some of them are closer to the edge than others, but you know, basically they're not that close to the edge. The one that is close to the edge is down there in the corner. All right, so I'm going to leave you right here, and I'm just going to show you a little trick that I have always done with my basting. Now, I do not use channel locks when I baste. Some of you might, and if that works for you, that's wonderful. But I like to be able to move my machine around a little bit. I like to be able to move my quilt a little bit and adjust it if I need to. So I just don't use the channel locks. I do have some pins in my quilt here. So obviously I don't want to run over the pins. So let's just stop for a second and talk about this pin that's out in the batting. This pin out here in the batting is actually for my edge-to-edge pattern. It's the last pass of my pattern. So before I do anything, I am going to reposition my pattern and get that pin out of the way because I don't want to run the risk of running into that pin when I do the basting. So now I can go ahead and take that pin out. Okay, I'm going to throw my machine into basting stitch. If you are a handy quilter owner with Pro Stitcher Premium, what I do is I assign basting to my side panel because I use baste all the time and I don't want to have to go through the other menus to find it. Okay, now when I do my basting, I do not want to run over a pin, and some of them are closer to the edge than others. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just as kind of an example, is I'm going to push a couple of these pins close to the edge. Now, why am I doing that, MK, you might ask? Well, because I want to show you my little cheat that I do whenever I approach a pin. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull up our bobbin thread. My machine is in basting. There we go. Okay. Whoops, it wasn't. Okay, it's in basting now. All right, First of all, for the one in the corner, I just go ahead and back that off so that I don't hit it. Okay, so I'm coming down, and now as I come along the bottom, I'm going slower. Okay, so here's one that's kind of close to the edge, and here's the other one. So if I was basting along and I got close to that pin, all I'm going to do is kind of go around it with a little bit of a U shape with my machine. So I just kind of go out into the batting. Anywhere where there's a pin that's close to the edge of my quilt. That's my little trick. I don't have to remove all of the pins. I don't have to stop and push them out of the way. That just slows me down. So any place where I get to a pin, it's just a little cheat. That's just kind of how I roll. Okay, let's get this baby off the frame, and I'll post some pictures so that you can see this lovely quilt post SewTites. All right, everyone, so that does it. This quilt was super awesome to work on, and the SewTites just made it go so quickly. But I did want to come back and answer at least one question that some of you had after I posted the initial video where I showed you how I was loading with the SewTites. So the SewTite itself, remember, there's the little plate that goes with it. Now the SewTite plate is 2 inches in length. And you'll remember that I mentioned that I put mine 2.5 inches apart. So what that meant was, inside of my leader, I had one SewTite right here, and I sewed those seams so that it wouldn't slip. And then I had a 2.5 inch section where there is no SewTite. And then the next SewTite, 2.5 inch space without it, and so forth. Okay, so I spaced mine that distance apart. You can absolutely put them closer together if you want. So when you get yours, just lay them all out, figure out what spacing you have enough for, and just go with it. I just found that they don't necessarily need to be end to end to give you the holding power that we need on our quilts. Now, the other thing that you noticed there in this last part of the video was how I did revert back to using a few pins. That's just because I don't like to just let my quilt be flopping around on the end. I like to maintain that tension until I can get it all nicely basted down. So perhaps pins are just always going to be around in my studio, who knows. But the SewTites, very, very fast for loading. I did also want to mention that I used this quilt for additional instruction in a new course over on my university site. So if you're seeing this video on one of my platforms other than my Facebook group for my university people, then head on over to university.mkquilts.com. The content on my university site primarily is focused on Pro Stitcher training, but we have a lot of courses there, some ruler courses, some free motion courses, and new courses are being added all the time. So specifically though, if you're a Pro Stitcher owner, you want to head on over there and check out all of my instruction. All right, that's all I got for you right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Thank you so much for your interest and your business on the SewTites. Check out the university site. Until next time, from my studio to yours, happy quilting. Bye-bye.